Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 32 of What If Naruto Was a Direct Descendant of the Sage. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Put Through Hell and Adopted by the Raikage over on Anime King 2. And stay tuned for a new episode coming over on Making 3. And yes, if you're new, you heard that correctly. Your mind is not playing tricks on you. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, would you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off as Fu was locked in a battle with Deidara, a rather destructive battle with the man Clay he was leveling the entire place. Meanwhile, Naruto was facing off against Kisame, the both of them brawling as Kisame tried to attack Naruto. Kisame was being cautious because he heard about what happened to Akatsuki and the others, but still, he was having fun as he clashed with Naruto violently. They destroyed the surrounding areas. As Kisame realized that he was getting nowhere, he pulled out his ultimate technique as he created a body of water that swallowed the entire area as it engulfed Naruto. Water sharks were created as Naruto burst out of it by making his clone summon him outside. With that, he ran up the surface top as he placed his hand on it and released the almighty push. Naruto accidentally tripled, maybe quadrupled the water pressure as Kisame was slammed with unnatural force, crushing out of his bones as Naruto captured him with his chains. Kisame was unable to do anything, but then the explosion went off as Deidara had did this kamikaze explosion, trying to level the entire place and take out Fu as well. Fu didn't know how, but she survived. Yes, she did, as she saw an orange mask. A man was standing there. He smiled at her. Well, she couldn't see that, as his eye under the eye hole started to spin his Sharingan as he cast her under an illusion. Meanwhile, as Naruto had loosened his grip as he had saw the explosion, he was worried about Fu, so Kisame used that chance to make his sharks devour him. Yes, the man went out for the Akatsuki goals. He made the sharks devour him as Naruto quickly ran off as he made his way straight towards where Fu was, only to see that Fu was alive. He was surprised as he grabbed her into a tight hug as she hugged him back. It was only his quick movements that made him move on time as he was stabbed in the shoulder instead of the heart. As Fu was trying to kill him in her face, devoid of all emotions, he tried to break whatever jutsu, ever gained jutsu over her, but nothing was working as she started to fight him. As he was able to hold her down though, as he was able to keep her in one place to try and find a way, but she was talking to him in that emotionless tone. She did not care, as she told him that she wanted to kill him. It was then the masked man appeared, as Naruto started to lose it. He was pulled in his mindscape as Kurama told him that he was using his chakra. As Naruto had enough, all he was trying to do was help, and the fox kept on mocking him over and over. All he was trying to do was help all of them, as Naruto lost his cool. The fox stood up on all fours though, as he did not know what this pathetic excuse of a child is in front of him. This was not the Naruto Uzumaki that he knew, as the fox was able to calm down Naruto. Before he left though, the fox told him something. His name. Yes, a great bond between them. When a tail beast told you their real name, as the other tail beasts looked towards the fox, he simply growled at them. What? As Tobi was shocked when he saw Naruto look towards him, as it was only a second for him, as Naruto was immensely calm right now despite the situation that he was in, and he was trying to break Naruto, but the boy was able to suppress his emotion in a flicker. So yeah guys, that was basically last we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check out yourself. So what is to begin this new episode? That's an incredible ability you have there. To have your body completely phase through any objects in Naruto. As Naruto's mind was going through possibilities in a second, a lot of them. The explosion had died out from the massive kamikaze blast that Deidara had released. As water vapor started to enter back into the area, Naruto had skewered Tobi with the sand. But with the water vapor now here, he could feel it. The man's body was there, but not exactly. It was like it was phased away in a different area. Selective. Intangible. Definitely useful, said Naruto. It also explained why you're able to stand on solid ground and not phase right through it. Tobi frowned underneath his mask, as Naruto could literally feel it, as Naruto pulled back the sand spikes. However, he said, as he held his hand up, what will happen if I make things a bit heavier? As Naruto started to close his hand into a fist, the gravity around Tobi started to increase exponentially. Let's see, if you stay material, you will slowly be crushed into the floor, your body collapsing under its own weight. However, if you choose to use your technique, you will have to use it across your entire body. I'm not sure which sounds worse, being crushed, or sink through the earth's surface, being a slave to the gravity until it crushes you by pressure, or get incinerated by the heat. Tobi started to sink down to his knees. You wouldn't, you're a monk. As Naruto's hand started to tighten even more. That's a very flexible term, said Naruto as his hand started to get even tighter. Well played, Uzumaki. Well played. The man's body started to distort into his eye hole. As Naruto saw it, a fully developed Sharingan before the man vanished out of sight. Naruto snapped his head back towards Fu. She was still cloaking her Bichu chakra, but he seemed to be visibly straining her at this point. So he had to act quickly. He had an idea of what happened to Fu now. Memories from Yagra and the standby. Right before that man vanished, he saw the fully developed Sharingan. But at the same time, he was not really sure. But he had to try. Consequences be damned. With that, he placed his hand on Fu's forehead as he started to siphon away her chakra. I'm sorry, he said. I hope you can forgive me after this, Fu. Komi. Time skip. As Naruto slowly walked through the forest path, Fu in his arms bridal style. He had unsealed one of his spear Hiyori's to cover his chest, as he had healed up Fu injuries. He had decided not to sleep next to the fortress though, despite his exhaustion. It was too exposed, and those two shinobis who were fighting there earlier unnerved him. But the more he walked, the tired he got, and it seemed like the heavier Fu got, as his body started to get exhausted. Gently, he set Fu down next to a whittled tree trunk, as he sat down next to her. He wrapped the armor on Fu as he brought her closer to him. Just a bit of rest wouldn't hurt them. He would get up in an hour and kept on going. But he did not notice the single figure watching them up in the trees as Naruto fell asleep. As the people in the trees, there were more than one watching him as they had on masks. They quickly made their way off. They had to report this to their superior. Time skip. Naruto woke up with a small smile on his face as the soft surface underneath him was very comfortable. He patted the soft surface. This was definitely not the hard ground he slept on last night. His eyes shut open. As he looked around, he was inside some kind of office that he didn't recognize as he was on the couch. As he stood up immediately, his body felt completely fine. There was no pain. In fact, the slash across his torso and the cuts against the arm, they were completely gone. They weren't just healed, even his impressive healing factor he gained from Kurama wouldn't have done this. As that made him start to think, why would someone capture him, leave him unguarded, and heal him? He tried to reach through the water vapor to try to get a better understanding of where he was, only for him to draw a complete blank. He could not access his chakra at all. It wasn't like it also when he could feel it under the surface. This time, he couldn't feel it at all. His eyes narrowed. He understood now. There was no need for a prison if your prisoner could not use any of their chakra. He got up as he narrowed his eyes as he did not see Fu anywhere. He did not let the panic show on his face though. For all he knew, he was being watched, and he would not give his capture the satisfaction. Instead, he made his way towards the massive window. Naruto didn't know whether to feel shocked or irritated when he saw the village of Konoha laid out in front of him. It's changed quite a bit since you were last here, hasn't it? As Naruto heard that warm voice behind him, it was very familiar, but he did not turn, his eyes looking over the new buildings. As he just stood there, it's still the same village, no matter how you change its appearance. The soft chuckle was right beside him now. He did not even hear the door open, and the man had swift beside him. It seems as though his chakra senses has become completely dull. Oh no, I would like to think that the village is always changing, evolving, trying to become something new as a young generation rise up and surpass your predecessors. As a small smile came on Naruto's face. You told me something similar when I was younger, but I was barely listening. The older man chuckled once again. No, you never seemed to pay attention unless it was about the Hokage or the various stories I told you about the past of famous shinobis. Although now I expect that you're the one with the stories to tell. Am I right? As Naruto turned as he looked up at the face of the one man that he could call family in this village since the Ichirakus were taken away from him. It's good to see you again, old man, said Naruto, as Hiruzen smiled at young monk. And you, my boy, Hiruzen said. The both of them just glanced at each other. The last time they saw each other was in the invasion of Konoha, and that was rather rushed. Why am I here? Said Naruto, breaking the silence. The more he looked at his grandfatherly figure, the more painful memories came up. One of the envoys spotted you in the forest, out on their patrol. They have standing orders to report any sighting of you if possible, and to bring you to the village without force. Naruto raised the eyebrow at that, so capturing him while he was sleeping wasn't considered the use of force. But that sure wasn't persuasion. But he needed to find out. What about Fu, he said. Hiruzen smiled, as he could hear the concern in Naruto's voice, showing how much he still cared about his precious peoples. As that was good. The girl that was with you, she's in the hospital right now being treated for severe chakra exhaustion. She's also under envoy guard for her own protection. As Naruto said nothing after that, as he realized something. The man standing in front of him was not only his Jiji, not only the grandfather figure that he knew as a child, but he was also the third Hokage, and he had to act as such. As Naruto's eyes narrowed a bit, also Hiruzen said, when you come to be my age, Naruto, you realize you could never handle the things you find precious carefully enough. Then my chakra, said Naruto, as Hiruzen's eyes drifted down toward his stomach. I understand that you have grown very powerful, or the reports I've gotten from your various exploits seem to be pointing that out. The forces I had stationed in the elemental nations got the sighting of a young blonde monk in several different occasions. The sand losing their Jinjulki, no matter how hard they tried to cover it up. The same go for Taki, and there was some kind of trouble in Kumo that was covered up as well. As Naruto was glad that the man did not bring up Mizu. I assume it's some kind of seal, said Naruto. As Hiruzen heard the professional way that Naruto spoke, he was no longer a child after all. Naruto, as powerful as you are, as powerful as you can be, one person cannot be afforded the same kind of security as the entire village. So, you think you're doing this for my protection, he said. It wasn't a question, and Hiruzen knew that, but he took a moment all the same. I am doing this for your protection, Naruto, as I've always done. As the blonde said nothing, showing no emotion, as Hiruzen wanted him to at least react in some way. But what he was getting was absolutely nothing. That look of distrust, it seems like. And he hated that. He hated that look to be pointed towards him, especially. As this village Jinjulki, Hiruzen wanted to deny that, but it had to do with the matter. After all, why would you take interest in an orphan? Well, seeing that he was the Jinjulki, of course they would. As Hiruzen did not answer, so he started to walk towards the door, noticing that his Shakijo was leaned up against a wall. I trust, as long as I don't try to escape, I will be left alone. He didn't need to see Hiruzen to know that the old man nodded slowly. So he picked up his staff and walked out, as he thought about the many shinobis that might have collapsed from chakra exhaustion to bring it this far. Oddly though, even his chakra suppressed, he could not feel his staff drawing the chakra away from him. It was just with him. He paid no mind for the moment as he seemed to walk away with silence, as Hiruzen looked at the closed door for a few moments until a voice knocked him out of his own world. Woo! I feel like the temperature of the room just dropped a few degrees, Sensei. Hiruzen sighed. I assume that you were listening in the entire time, Jiraiya. As a toad sage rolled in, with a rather unnecessary entrance. Of course, Sensei, you know me better than that. As Jiraiya flopped down in the Hokage's chair, as he casually spun around it a few times, and... well, you can't expect me to just come to a conclusion from just that. Well, let's just say he certainly inherited Kushina-chan chakra, because he was able to walk around that thing in his hand. It nearly exhausted me from just getting it back to the village. What about the seal, Hiruzen said? Did you get a chance to examine it? Hiruzen watched as Jiraiya's face became serious. Well, on that I'm completely stumped. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. Jiraiya was a master of Fuinjutsu. So if something was above him, that was a problem. Was something wrong with it? No. It's nearly perfect. Then what's the problem, Hiruzen asked. He was confused. Well, by all accounts the seal should have been weakened by now. Well, that is what I get from Minato notes. However, it's perfect, like it was just applied a few months ago. So either Minato underestimated his own work, which I highly doubt, or I'm missing something. Think on it, and I'm sure it will come, Hiruzen said. In the meantime, try to talk to him. I'm sure that you will have better luck than me. Yeah, of course, but it might be a good idea to give the kid some distance right now. He was basically kidnapped after all, and he knows it. Hiruzen sighed, wishing that Jiraiya would put it like that. So I think I'll go do some research while he calmed down some more. As a perverted grin came on his face as he leaped through the office. Hiruzen sighed as he looked through the window. As he focused on the head of Minato Namikaze. Minato, I hope I'm doing the right thing here, he said. Time skip, despite the long time, 10 years to be exact. Naruto knew exactly where to go. He got a few curious looks, probably because of his headband and the clothing that he wore, but nothing more than that. For the most part, people seemed to just go about their own business. As he arrived at the hospital, as he smelled disinfectants. He had hated hospitals as a child. Too much whites and the smell. He really hated it. Well. I figured it was only a matter of time before you showed up here. I actually figured it would be sooner. As Naruto was surprised to hear that voice. So, got nothing to say to your sensei, brat. Large, genuine smile came on Naruto's face as he saw Tsunade grinning at him. As Naruto walked over, damn, said Tsunade. Huh, you got taller. Instead of him looking up at her, she had to look up at him. You better believe it, Tsunade-sensei. I guess if you're here, I have you to thank for this. As he gestured to no scars over his body. Actually, that was Shizune handiwork. She's really come a long way since we parted ways. As Naruto smiled at the thought of seeing Shizune again. Fu would be happy to see her as well. I could say the same for you, said Naruto. What happened to never going back to Konoha? As Naruto remembered the many talks that Tsunade had shared with him. That she would never come back here. Tsunade simply pulled him into a one-arm hug around his neck. Yeah, well, some little brat had to come along and change a few of my views. So when Sensei offered me to return, rather insistently if I might add, a small vein popped in her forehead as she remembered something, rather irritated. As she sighed, I just didn't have it in me to refuse. She waited for a response but she did not get any. She looked down and she saw Naruto turning blue as she released him. Yeah, she was holding him a bit too tight. What's up with you, kid? That much time away from me make you so weak, she said. Well, it seems you lose a lot of things, resistance being one of them. When your chakra is forcefully taken away, he said. A look of realization came to her eyes as she looked towards Naruto. Chest, stomach area. So Sensei, really put that seal on you. Told him it'd be a bad idea, but as Naruto simply nodded. But he's a Hokage, he said. Finching senses for her. Yeah, in any case, it seems like you and Fu are sticking around for a while. Better get comfy, she said. Naruto grimaced at that. There was things that he needed to do. Stopping a fellow ring gun user who planned to collect all the bijous and use them for, well, not anything good. But he chose to remain quiet, not wanting to worry Tsunade. So there's nothing you can do. Sorry, Naruto. You're talking to the wrong Sannin, she said. It's ironic. If I had took Sensei's proposition to become Hokage, I would probably be able to do something for you. As the two started to walk to the hospital, Naruto raised eyebrows at that. You were offered the Hokage position, he said. Tsunade grimaced. Yeah, like I'll take that sucker job. If Jiraiya can sneak his way out of it, then why can't I? Kind of a shame though. There aren't that many people that you can call qualified in next generations. Kakashi maybe, but that lazy scarecrow would not take it up. He's too stuck in the past. That Uchiha kid might have got it if he didn't went all psycho and murder his clan. As Naruto knew that was Tsunade's way of speaking, she did not sugarcoat things. So what is he planning on doing, said Naruto. Oh, the old man is probably trying to cook up a way for me or Jiraiya to take it. But let's see him try. The two finally reached a room that was flanked by two envoy operatives. But one look from Tsunade and they moved. Naruto smirked. In the hospital, it seems like she was the Hokage from the way she was treated, as he saw the looks and the nods of respect. Alright, I'll let you in now, but don't expect too much. I don't know what you put that girl through, but she has the worst case of chakra exhaustion I've ever seen before. I had to put her in an induced sleep to make her chakra flow normally again. Knowing her though, she'll probably be up by tomorrow morning. As Naruto walked inside, before a hand placed on his shoulder. Don't remain in the hospital room for all day. I know you're not feeling exactly cozy in Konoha at the moment, but do something, at least walk around the village. You never knew what can come from it, she said. With that, she turned and left. As Naruto went inside, there was a chair. It looked like it was set up for him. As he sat down, as Fu was sleeping peacefully. As he took her hand, as a humorless laugh escaped his lips. Well, what have I gotten us into this time, Fu, he said. Time skip. Naruto wasn't sure where he was going, as he wandered through the streets of Konoha in the late afternoon. He had stayed in the hospital for a few hours. He was starting to regret leaving Fu's side now as he just walked through the crowds of people. He got many odd looks from his unique appearance, and the hushed whispers called him paranoid, but he didn't like the idea of someone recognizing him, even though it had been 10 years. He started to move to the quieter parts of the village, where less people was walking. Eventually, he found himself in a completely abandoned part of the village. He didn't recognize it very well, meaning that it was an era he was unaccustomed to as a kid, as he never remembered there being such an era in the entire village. But at least it was peaceful and silent. Finally, he sat at a large pond that had a wooden beam going straight out before stopping somewhere in the middle. As he crossed his legs and sat down, he had a theory that he wanted to test about the seal binding his chakra. It may have been suppressing his own chakra, but if he could reach out and tap into the energy surrounding him, a smile came on his face as he felt the natural chakra. He couldn't exactly draw it in himself, but he can be a conduit. The natural energy tried to flood his body, making the bonds that hold back his chakra start to weaken. As a familiar warmth started to creep into his body, it was weak, but it was there. But after a moment or two, it just stopped, leaving him with only a tiny trickle of his own chakra, as he cut off the connection to nature. After all, you need large reserves to balance nature energy, and right now his chakra control was not the best. It's about time, Naruto. The deep voice of Kurama filled his head. He was no longer in Konoha, he was in the seal, as he looked up towards the fox. Pathetic, being so easily caught by shinobi, not to mention how long it took you to break that little seal. As Naruto got to his feet, I didn't realize you were waiting for me. I might have come sooner. The fox growled at him, but Naruto did not feel any of the normal hostility. It was like when Tsunade would threaten him, it was empty. I have just gained some measurable of freedom. It's disagreeable to have it taken away so quickly. Naruto was confused, until the fox motioned towards a lack of bars. Have you already forgotten what you did in your fit of emotion yesterday? Or was it so unconcerning? Naruto's eyes widened as he looked at the crushed cage, crumbled up into a small ball. I did that? The Kyuubi simply huffed. But then, the seal. Have I broken it? Please, there is more concerning things right now. Kurama brought Naruto's attention to the other cell. As Naruto's eyes snapped, Komi, as where the eye ears were supposed to be, was glowing a deep crimson red. As Naruto grabbed the bars and started to push his chakra out. No, not now, damn it, said Naruto, as he forced his chakra out. But with the seal, only a small amount came and pushed into the cell. Must I really do everything, Kurama said. As Naruto watched one of Kurama's tails came over his head and tapped the bar. All at once, the red glow vanished from Nanabe's face. As it looked around, Fu-chan, it then collapsed down to the floor, just like Aisabi did all those years ago. As Naruto looked towards Kurama, the lack of effort he did just to do that, he tried to do the same for his standby and he almost collapsed out of exhaustion, and yet the fox looked undisturbed. It was just inspiring to imagine how much chakra the fox have. Is Komi gonna be alright, Naruto asked as he looked towards Kurama. The bug will recover shortly. Komi was not under that accursed eye's influence for nearly as long as a turtle, and it is more resilient. In any case, that doesn't matter. We need to talk, Naruto. There was an incredible, serious look in the fox's eye, as a part of Naruto was happy that the fox was actually talking to him this way. For as long as he wanted the fox to bond with him better. Okay, like what, said Naruto? That Uchiha, or at least the one that has the Sharingan, he needs to die. Naruto was about to say something, but the fox cut him off with a glare. He was not finished yet. That accursed mistake of our father's elder son should have been eradicated a long time ago. Enough time has passed, and the longer their stain remains on this earth, more life will be corrupted and poisoned. As Naruto could hear the way the fox spoke about the Sharingan users. You would condemn an entire clan for just the action of a few, Naruto asked. The fox gazed down towards him. You would defend them after they enslaved us. Naruto shook his head. You mean after Madara enslaved you, he said. The fox slammed his hand down as the entire place shook. It makes no difference. The Uchihas are blight. None of them can be redeemed. Especially that one in the mask. He reeked too much of Madara himself. Wait, said Naruto as he thought about the Bichu's words. How would you know if you smell like Madara? I said before, your actions in destroying this cage door has given me a certain freedom. In what way, Naruto asked? We have become more linked, as distasteful as that sounds. I now hear what you hear, see what you see, and even feel what you feel. As Naruto grimaced at that, now the time that he spent with Fu, he would realize that he has spectators watching. I don't appreciate it all much that either, the fox said. The feeling of your little human body is disinterested, in that least. You shouldn't complain so much. As the both of them turned as Mantabe was near her bars. I would give anything to feel the ear on my fur again. As the other, Bichu started to nod. Shikaku looked confused, as Naruto felt a bit ashamed in all this time, talking to Mantabe and Shikaku, Son Goku, and even the Gobi. As he got his name as well, and Saikon as well. Saikon mostly stayed by himself, but Naruto had gotten the slug to work with him. But still, he had stolen their freedom. As Naruto lowered his head as he looked sad. I am just as bad as him, aren't I? I am imprisoning you all. I never asked if this was what you all wanted. I tried to rationalize that I was protecting you from the Akatsuki. but I was just treating you as objects, weapons to be abused, by keeping you all sealed in here. Something knocked Naruto to the floor, as it was a fox tail. Do not compare your actions to that man. Do not compare yourself to him, said the fox. That man was a coward, using the gifts that was given to him by our father blood to abuse us and treating us as pets. You never chose to have me inside you, and everything that came after was due to your misguided actions as a child, or out of what you thought to be best. In any case, it's not like I would be wished to place in any construct that you created through your so-called master of the Benbatsusu. As Naruto picked himself up, I can still help you, although he said, offer you the same freedom that Kurama has. A few of them seemed roused by that as they looked ready to agree, until Kurama interrupted. That's a poor idea. Manitabi glared at Kurama. You just want all the freedom to yourself, she said. He looked towards her as the fire died down towards her. Don't think of me so, petty cat. The bars of my cell was one thing, but to do the same to all, I do not understand the entirety of this human seal, but to damage it so much would be ill advised. Before Tokage was clever enough to seal me in here, he would have made countermeasures against such tampering. Which brings me to my next point. I assume that you have some foolish idea of how to break the bonds holding back your chakra. Well, yeah, said Naruto. Do not. Naruto was surprised as he looked at the fox. I believe one of the functions of this cage was to slowly filter my chakra through you as time goes on. Without any of yours, my chakra has been opened up to you. Naruto was about to say something, but the fox knocked him down once again in his tail. As Naruto got the idea that the fox was rather amused by doing that. Yes, I know that you stated yourself that you would never use our chakra for your prideful reasons, but that is far from the point. Right now, that restriction seal is the only thing preventing the full might of my chakra from flooding your being. It was already happening in your conflict with that Uchiha. As Naruto remember how you wanted to crush the man with the gravity. Whatever your plan is, allow it to happen over time. Unless you might turn yourself into an invalid, and that would be humiliating. As Naruto nodded, as he just got the Kyuubi's small bit of trust, he wasn't going to break it by not listening. I still promise to find a way to give all of you a chance to experience freedom, if only in a small way, said Naruto as he directed to the other Bijous. We know that you will try, Naruto. As he smiled at Mandabi, as she has been the most cooperative of the other Bijous. In any case though, whatever your plan is, make it fast. That imposter that bear the sage's eyes must be dealt with. There can only be one Rinnegan wielder, and if I must place my backing behind one of them, it will be the one that is not trying to control my power and use me as a weapon. As Naruto smiled at that, the Kyuubi then curled up on himself. Just remember, do not kill yourself. It would be rather inconvenient. Naruto stepped forward as the fox barely twitched as he touched him. Is that your way of saying that you care? The fox eye cracked open as Naruto stepped back. Alright, said Naruto. But seriously, does this mean we can talk more now, he asked, that you won't just rebuke my questions? I suppose it depends on how I feel, doesn't it? Said Kurama. Great, said Naruto as he sat down, because this had been bugging me for a while. Have you been getting bigger or it's just me? The fox released a huff. I suppose that you would notice sooner or later, wouldn't you? The me you saw when we first met was not all of me. It was just an aspect of my young chakra. I was unbalanced, torn, and more importantly weak, only possessing half of my power. Had I been released from your body at that time, I'm not sure what would have happened. But I suspect that I wouldn't be able to create a physical form for myself. So, what changed you to ask? Seeing that the fox had went silent for a few moments, I have you to thank for my other half returning. As the other, Bijous were shocked at Kurama thanking Naruto. When you absorb my stray chakra from that other monk boy, it contained a small portion of my yin chakra. It was weak, but it was enough so I could restore my full power slowly and slowly. I would say, in about a half a year, I would be restored to fully, to what I used to be in my previous Jinchuriki. Naruto blinked at that. Previous Jinchuriki? What were they like? As Kurama looked down towards Naruto, and he just looked at him for a few seconds. She cared little for me. In fact, I only speak to her once. It was when that she came to my cell to told me to stay quiet, locked away inside of her, where my power could cause no hatred. She was just like the others before her, believing that love was the only way to suppress my power. The fox's ears twitched at that, as he turned his head. Seems like we're no longer alone. Naruto blinked, as he was about to ask what he meant, but the next thing he knew, he was looking at the pond outside of his seal. Hey, I asked what you were doing here. As Naruto blinked once again to see a boy looking at him, around his age, dark hair and dark eyes, giving him a rather irritated glare. He was covered in bandages, and he was walking with a bit of a limp. which likely meant that he just came back from a mission. And he looked familiar, but Naruto couldn't quite place it, although the hair, if it turned that way. Hey, you some kind of idiot or something. As Naruto realized he was staring, sorry. I was lost here for a moment, he said. The boy grunted. What are you doing here? This is Uchiha clan property. Naruto heard a growl in the back of his mind. It was then that he saw the fan symbols. Sorry, I didn't realize. I was simply looking for somewhere quiet to meditate a bit. It's been a while since I had the chance, and this village is just a bit overwhelming most of the time, said Naruto. The boy looked at him for a few moments before he gave a curt nod. But his eyes in focus on Naruto's hair. Do I know you from somewhere? As Naruto raised the eyebrow at that, so it wasn't just him. The Uchiha eyes widened a bit. As he remembered, you were that boy we met in Naminokuni. You had that green hair girl with you. As Naruto remembered now, Sasuke. As Sasuke just sat down, as Naruto just looked at him. Sasuke sent a glare back his way. What? Nothing, said Naruto. It just seemed like something is bothering you. So, what do you care? Sasuke asked. To be honest, it was none of his concern. He would just have to wait until Fu woke up. But it seemed like something was really bothering Sasuke. It helps to talk about it, said Naruto. Sasuke looked at him, as he wasn't sure whether to scowl at the idea or just dismiss it. At either case, he just grunted as he looked at the water. As Naruto tapped him on the shoulder. Come on, I'm monk. It's not like I'm gonna be around for much longer. You might not even see me after this. Plus, I've been told I offer good advice. Sasuke scowled at his reflection before his shoulders slumped a bit. What advice do you have for someone who killed his only brother, his only family? As his Sharingan activated, as he growled as he looked at the water. What happened? Sasuke blinked in surprise. He never expected anything more after that sentence. Even his teammates had shied away from him when he told them what he had done. It didn't help that he was still covered in his brother's blood. Itachi Uchiha, as Sasuke's hand clenched into a fist. The man who murdered my clan, my family. And so for the first time Sasuke vented, he poured out everything. Telling everything to this, well, stranger. Maybe it was because he didn't know him or because it was bottling up inside him for too long. It needed to be let out. When he was finished, he felt a bit lighter, less burdened. Naruto on the other hand was surprised, as he remembered his meeting with Itachi. He couldn't place that young man as a murderer. He was a part of the Akatsuki, so he was a criminal, but to slaughter your entire clan, well, that goes to show you can't judge people by their appearances alone. So what now then? Will you carry through with your goal? To restore your clan? Sasuke paused. He looked at his hand as he opened and closed a few times. I'm not sure. For the longest time, I thought it would be so easy. I always have a driving force. Gain power, become strong enough to challenge Itachi, defeat him, and restore the Uchihas. But as Sasuke raised his hand and held onto his forehead, as he remembered that smile on Itachi's face when he tapped him on the forehead, he nearly jumped as he felt Naruto's hand on his shoulder. As he turned towards the blonde who was smiling sadly. It isn't what you expected. As Sasuke heard the tone in Naruto's voice, it was like a bit understanding. I may not be able to compare with losing my entire clan in a single night. But, as advice from someone who was experienced, the both horrors and loss, and the hollow feeling of revenge. Don't push people away. Sasuke blinked as Naruto stood up, as the two was looking over the short pier. I suppose if I was younger, I might have just parried off a saying from one of my sensei, expecting the words to be wise. However, words that are spoken that are not yours is just something hollow. So I'll say something I spent a long time thinking about. After killing the man who took away the first girl I loved, as Sasuke didn't show that he was shocked, as he never expected a monk to kill someone. But he saw a look on Naruto's face, the same look of loss. But Naruto looked up, as his eyes rippled. Don't push away the people closest to you. It does not make you stronger to carry the burden alone. While no amount of time would wipe away the memories, having people by your side to stand by, it would make them seem less more important. As Sasuke blinked, he was just noticing that the blonde had a dojutsu. After all, he never saw his eyes in Nami. But before he could say anything, he was cut off as a new voice entered the fray. Hey Sasuke! As he turned to see Sakura and Kiba. Though it seemed like Sakura was dragging the Inuzaka against his will. When they stopped, Sakura smiled brightly as she pushed Kiba forward. Sasuke, I'm glad we found you. Kiba and I have something we want to ask you. Didn't we, Kiba? Said Sakura. As he turned towards Sasuke. Yeah, I guess if you want to get some Akatsuki or something, I suppose. Ow, said Kiba, as he glared at Sakura, as she was smiling, her face behind her back. We would like if you come along, said Kiba, already knowing that Sasuke was gonna grunt and just walk away. Yeah, sure. I told you you wouldn't go for it, Sakura. You just... Kiba paused. Wait, what? And Sasuke just nodded. I said I'll go, just let me... He turned, but Naruto was already gone while he was distracted. Oh, never mind, let's just go. Kiba just nodded dumbly, shocked. You gonna stand there all day, dog breath? That snapped Kiba out of his trance. Hey, who you calling? Ouch, Kiba said, as he glared towards Sakura, who skipped towards Sasuke with a smile on her face. From a few houses away, Naruto watched with a small smile as the three friends walked off together. Even if Sasuke seemed a bit cold, he hoped their short talk would get the boy to come to a bit of conclusion, because Naruto was certain with the support of his friends, he would make the right choice. I still think my method would be easier. The little Uchiha wouldn't have to worry about taking a darker path if his head was a few hundred feet away from his body. As Naruto sighed, this was still new having the fox speak to him like this. And not to mention the rather dark comments. Time skip. As Naruto was woken up not by the ray of sunlight, but by the hand that he was holding on to tighten the grip, he looked up as Fu was looking directly at him. Naruto, what happened? She sat up. Where are we? She said, only for her to feel dizzy. Her body feel strangely cold. It took at least the better part of a day for Naruto to explain the last 2 days and what happened, including her control by the Uchiha, her attacking him, which he greatly played down, as he didn't want her to feel bad. By the end of it, she went into a deep, thoughtful thinking. I see. Then now we are captives in Konoha, but we are able to move around freely. I presume there's a similar seal on me as there is you. Naruto shrugged. He wouldn't imagine Tsunade having something like that placed on Fu under her watch. But who knows how long Fu was there before Tsunade took control. But Fu's voice seemed a bit hollow after knowing that Komi was no longer inside of her. Fu, you do not need to feel worried, Naruto, she said. I will miss Komi, but it is not like we will never meet again. As Naruto nodded, happy. As a former Jinchuriki, it was not out of the realm of possibility that she could be drawn inside the seal. But then, there's no chance of returning her to me. I still want to help carry her burdens. Oh, I can, even if I no longer see the Bijus as such. Naruto shook his head, his gaze downwards. He had plenty of time to think about this and talk to Kurama while Fu was asleep. No, when Komi was extracted, the seal that bound her to you was rendered useless and fell apart. Without it, I would just be forcing her chakra into your system, most likely killing you. Fu nodded as she understood. Neither of them were seal masters, and she doubted Konoha would just lend them one to perform this switching. As she placed her foot off the bed, as Naruto stood up with her, as he was still holding onto her hands, she looked down towards the connection they had. Naruto, I'm sorry, she said. No, I should be the one apologizing to you, said Naruto. No, I attacked you, she said. I can't even imagine how it must have felt to fight me. I could never. Already with Shizuku, and now with me. I should have been faster, to not fall for that man's trap. Naruto pulled her in close as he wrapped her up in his embrace. Fu, please, you're safe and alive. That is all that matters. A tear ran down her face as she accepted the hug fully. Maybe this isn't so bad after all, being captured. He let her continue as she spoke once more. Perhaps for a little while we could just pretend to be normal. No chakra, no life-changing journey for peace and understanding. No Akatsuki hunting us, she said. Fu, I know, she said. It's selfish. Too selfish, but as she stepped back and caressed his cheek, you bear so many burdens, carry so many dreams on your back. As she gently slipped the horn headband off his head, his messy hair falling on his forehead just this once. As she removed the earring and the necklace that he was wearing. Just this once, she said once again. Being Naruto Uzumaki, as she took the shakijo from his grasp and put it down quickly to the side. As Naruto had a small smile on his face, mirrored by Fu. Normal, huh? Fu nodded. For just a few days. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be that bad, said Naruto. What's the worst that can really happen in a few days, he said. Time skip. Deep, metallic grey eyes opened slowly as the person was standing in the rain. The rain was not bothering them in the slightest though. As someone rose up. Zetsu, I assume you coming here mean that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has finally stopped moving. The complete black being behind the leader of the Akatsuki nodded. Yes, Pain-sama, he's currently in Konoha. If Pain was any other man, he would have probably laughed at the irony. Searching for him so long for him just to return back to the home village that he was from. How appropriate. Should me and Tobi go and capture him, asked Zetsu. No, I will go myself. As Zetsu left with that. So, it's time I finally get to see your conviction, Naruto Uzumaki, said Pain. Time skip. Konoha. As Naruto liked the acting normal concept that Fu has suggested while in Konoha, as he felt a lot lighter, yes, as the both of them were currently in a small cafe. As he looked towards Fu, who was currently glaring at someone. Why is he still here? The man didn't seem bothered at all, as he was drinking his sake. He was used to this kind of treatment, it seems, as he slurped all his sake up before slamming the cup back down on the table. What's the matter, cutie? You must want some alone time with your boyfriend. As Fu glare increased, some of the people in the cafe started to look around, feeling this odd presence that they couldn't really explain. As the man shrugged it off though, as he was surprised though that this girl so young could muster so much kill intent. Well, she was like a mini snazzy. Now, Fu, said Naruto. You can be a little nicer. After all, said Naruto. Jiraiya smirked at that. Jiraiya here is gonna buy us lunch. The smirk slipped off Jiraiya's face as he looked at the lunch that the both of them had ordered. It was rather large. Their metabolism for being Jinchuriki was wide. Even if she no longer had the Biju, she had the same things that Gara received as well. She had her stamina, her healing, and her durability. It remained to be seen if she could still call out her wings, but they wouldn't be able to tell until Naruto managed to find a way to remove his seals. I don't remember agreeing to that, kid, said Jiraiya. It's the least you can do after the small incident this morning. Right, Jiraiya, said Naruto. Oh, right, said Jiraiya. The smile that the blonde was giving him was far worse than any killer intent given from a vicious woman. The worst part was there was no killer intent. There was just a smile, and yet it was just so unnerving. As Jiraiya sighed, he was peeping on the woman hot springs when Fu was in the area. Somehow, even this chakra block, Naruto was able to sneak up on Jiraiya. Yeah, sure, Jiraiya said. He wasn't planning the kid's girlfriend being there. It was just one of those coincidences, you know? But he didn't make an excellent introduction on the boy, with him not already liking Konoha for his girlfriend to be spied on. But everyone seemed to find out rather quickly, and the beating was severe. So, you really are Naruto, huh? Said Jiraiya. That's my name, said Naruto. As Jiraiya chuckled a bit, you're very different than that little knucklehead blonde I remember. Runner in the village when he was nothing more than a brat. A lot has changed since then, said Naruto, as he left it at that. He saw Jiraiya wince at that. That was interesting. No, Jiraiya said, once I heard you left, I searched for you. Well, I imagine you would, said Naruto. I hid in the village to notice Jinchuriki is greatly weakened after all. Another wince. There was something up with Jiraiya. No, not like that, Jiraiya said. But he trailed off. It seems he had been adamant that Naruto did not find out about certain things yet. As Naruto took the man's silence as lies and hidden truths. Why are you here, Jiraiya-san? He asked. Are you trying here to install bonds of trust between us? He refused to be completely casual with the people that was keeping them, well, locked away in this village. I assure you, as long as my chakra is chained away, those bonds will be like creating a house on top of sand. Perhaps you are here to inspect my seal to make sure the Kyuubi has no more power it should have over me. Or are you interested in a student of your teammate? Tsunade Sensei has told me a lot about you. Each thing that Naruto said, it was like a knife driving deeper into Jiraiya's back. All good, I hope. As Naruto simply blinked at that, as Jiraiya lowered his head. Maybe I could train you. That would be good, wouldn't it? Training from two of the Sanin. I am not a shinobi, Jiraiya-san, nor do I wish to be. Jiraiya's side was hard to talk to the boy, seeing that it was like they were two total strangers, which they were. I have no interest in learning jutsus, like the ones you have to offer. I trained under Tsunade-sama because I saw her healing was the best way to protect those who are precious to me. As Naruto glanced towards Fu, that look of happiness and love. Jiraiya, remember seeing that same look in the eyes of another blonde. But sometimes the best way to protect something is with your own power, said Jiraiya. Naruto fists clenched though. And sometimes, for that very same reason, we lose something precious to us in the first place. Being too focused on gaining power or failing to understand what we already have. As that brought up some bad memories for Naruto, Jiraiya saw a look in his eyes as he noticed that he failed the boy already. He had obviously got a great deal of loss in his time, and he was blaming himself completely because he wasn't there for the young boy. Maybe you're right, said Jiraiya as he got up before he placed some money on the table, more than enough to pay for his and the two of their meals. But maybe there's still time, he said. The question that he was about to ask about the Rinnegan forgotten as he made his way off with a smile. When Jiraiya was no longer here, the cold mask that Naruto was wearing vanished away. It was mostly for appearance after all. Envoys were hidden around him, but that didn't bother him. He was here with Fu, the girl that he loved. Perhaps it wasn't a bad idea to take him up on his offer of training. Despite everything, Fu was still a tactical thinker. Even if he is a pervert, she said, the scowl. Really? Said Naruto. You'd have me learn from someone other than Tsunade Sensei? As Naruto held a hand over his heart. How can you ask me to betray her so? The both of them then start to laugh an air of calm coming over them. After their laughter calmed down, Fu spoke once again, this time a bit more serious. But it could be the opportunity to have these seals on our chakra removed. She spoke in a hushed tone so their watchers would not overhear them. That was true because Jiraiya would want to teach him ninjutsu, and he would have to have his chakra to do that. But Naruto knew Jiraiya is a master of ninjutsu. He would find a way, said Naruto. It will be best if we do this on our own, when we're ready. The seal need to be removed slowly anyway. It will be too dangerous to rush all of the Kyuubi's power inside his body. Okay, said Fu with a smile. As she leaned forward, he leaned forward as well, as the both of them share a rather passionate, quick kiss. As he broke away. I love you, Fu, said Naruto. And I love you too, Naruto, she said. Time skip. Aizumo and Kitetsu, as usual, sat in front of Konoha gate, as they were in their boot. Got any tools? Nah. Go fish. As they were playing card when they saw Shadow. Oh hey, welcome to Konoha. Sign here and your reason for visiting. As Kotetsu turned his head to look towards the person as Aizumo was giving him the clipboard. The man then spoke. Where is the Kyuubi Jinjulki? Kotetsu turned as he saw the Akatsuki symbol on the cloak, and those ripple eyes looking at him like they were staring within his soul. But guys, to be in subs right here. If you want to see next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was put through hell and adopted by the Raikage, and enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.